Boy. Okay. Poopy. Hey, I'm on. Oh, way too easy. Way too easy. So, yeah. So I think you got to go with a one that just not an all body one, just one that focuses like you had sent over. I just didn't want to work on my legs. So, yeah. So don't don't go with that. Yep. Good. Yeah, I'm on a podcast right now waiting for my guest to show up. So, yeah. Oh, what's his name? Hold on, let me check your text message. Hold on, let me look. Hold on. Check your email. Okay. Hold on a second. Abby. When did you send that to me? He went to BC. Here it is. Joe Tessitore. Hold on, let me Google him. Joe Tessitore. So you good tipper? That's all I care about. Good. That was right number 2. So what did you tell him your parents went to BC or? Oh no, he's way too young. Yeah. I don't recognize him. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's cool. Good advice. Exactly. Exactly.
This is Mitch.
Oh, hold on. Abby, my guest is here. I got to go. All right. Bye, sweetie. I love you. Bye-bye. No, Mitch, I was going to say, I love you too. How you doing, man?
Good. I'm in a new setting here, so I'm trying to find out where the light is, right? I guess that's
Okay. That's good. And I'm, okay, so let's get started here. And let me just kind of give you an idea, first off, that nothing hits the editing room floor on my podcast. We say whatever we want, and we're just, two guys chatting away. All right? All right. So, just be ready for that. And I'm going to do it. So I'm going to introduce you. And then we're going to really have two topics that we're going to talk about. One of them, obviously about seller financing. I want to dig down deep into that. But the other thing I want to get to talk to you about is something that my business is kind of my training and teaching is kind of taking a shift to, and that really is how to run your real estate business. How do you run it? You've done 2,000 homes. What are your systems? What do you do when you wake up in the morning? How do you focus? What are your goals? That type of discussion. And then finally, I've got this new thing on my podcast that I end with. And so we're going to do like a quick little break for, a commercial, and then we come back 3 seconds later. We come right back into it. And it's called, "Oh yeah, well, how about this?" Where you...
yeah. How about this?
Well, yeah, well, how about this? So where you start off with a story, I actually tell me, give me in the whole experience since you're 23 years old, give me a good, a bad, an ugly, one of the most shocking stories, anything that you can think of, like a nasty tenant, like that. And then I will come back with, "Oh yeah, well, how about this?" So we're always trying to one up each other with the stories. And let me tell you something. You have no idea where that goes. So it's unbelievable. So, all right. And the thing is, this is all fun. We're just, it's more fun, the better. So let me pull up your bio here so I can.
So 3 common mistakes are they put an S on the end of my name, which is no big deal, but it's Stephen, singular. And I have a book series, and the series is My Life in 1,000 Houses. And all of them are My Life in 1,000 Houses. They're separated by the subtitles: Failing Forward to Financial Freedom, 200 plus ways to find bargain properties, and The Art of Owner Financing.
Okay. All right. Where the heck is your, where did I find, where's your?
And it's 2,000 houses by now.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. And the thing that's really kind of wild is that, I teach my class is how to own 1,000 apartments in 5 years. And here you've got your 1,000, or My Life in 1,000 Houses. This is going to be a good match. Okay, hold on a second. Where the heck is your? Oh, let me see. Mitch. There you are. 1,000 Houses, About Us. That's what I'm looking for. Okay.
By the way, thanks for having me on.
Oh, hey, listen. I owe you big. Because you are really my motivation for starting a podcast. I mean, I came to the podcast world kicking and screaming, because I didn't even think the internet was going to catch on. That's how far behind I am. And seeing your success with it And then, you're talking to, doing that course. I thought, geez, maybe I should give this thing a try and see how it happens. And let me tell you something, Mitch. If all I did was the podcast, I would be a happy man.
You meet a lot of neat people, man, and you did a lot of strategies, and I raised a lot of private money from it.
Oh, that is something that really let me tell you something. You wrote a little quip about some guy with $1 million in Tennessee, and I read that. And I thought, man, that is what I need to be doing for my students, is having that type of an outlet for sourcing funds for them. And I thought, geez, that's why I've got to get this podcast going. But you're absolutely right. You meet all different types. Just so you understand, I'll mention his name because he's a good guy, but he's a young guy. He's not in our age bracket, Mitch. And we're doing his podcast. Whitney Sewell. Whitney Sewell. Do you know Whitney? Okay, good guy. Oh yeah, you should meet him. You should be on his podcast and have him on yours. So he says to me, if I come to one of your training classes, what's it going to be like? And I said, well, I'm like the Don Rickles of multifamily. And he looks at me with this blank stare. And I said, you don't know who Don Rickles is, do you? And he goes, no, I've never heard of him before. I'm like, oh, geez.
Oh, no. Hey, so we need to talk sometime because, I made $18,000 on the podcast last month. I made $62,000 the month before that. I just monetized the hell out of it. We need to talk about what you're doing.
Oh, listen, I want to talk to you about that. That is so cool because I am not monetizing it. I'm just having fun. Right now.
Everyone says that just because they don't know how. I did a course called Podcast Profits, and I give all the people that I collect from, I give everything I'm doing, and it makes money, and checks just come in the freaking mail, and I just like, holy shit.
That I got to figure out how to do that because we should be, we are recording this, but the thing is, my guilty pleasure is true crime murder mystery podcasts. I listen to all of them all the time. And there are these guys on True Crime Garage, two guys sitting around a microphone. And I swear to God, when they break for commercial, it's 4 minutes of commercial. They're selling mattresses. They're selling, hair products. I mean, they're selling everything. I'm like, do they really make a living doing this? Can they make, money doing this? And, I know that there's one guy, Case Files, Australian guy. This guy's got a staff. He started with himself in a closet, and now he's got a staff of people helping him run the podcast. It's unbelievable.
We'll talk about it one time. But I have a tight schedule today, so we better start.
So do I. Okay.
We'll definitely talk. We'll make a time to talk about it.
All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the next episode of the Multifamily Investing Podcast with me, Charles Dobbins, the multifamily attorney. And this week, I am so happy to introduce you a guy that I've known for years, and he's actually been a great influence for me, is Mitch Stephen. Oh, my God.
It's a lifelong hazard, man. Everyone puts an S on the end of my name, but it's okay.
Well, part of the problem here is the fact that my wife, her maiden name is Stevens. Yeah, I know. So I'm getting it from both ends. Okay, wait a minute. So, here we go. Let me give you a little bio because you got to hear about Mitch. Mitch has been self-employed for 25 years as a real estate investor. He started back at age 23 when he read, like probably the same age I was when I read Nothing Down by Robert Allen. Now, over the last 25 plus years, he has purchased well over 2,000 homes in and around his hometown of San Antonio, Texas. He's a high school graduate, but he got all his learning from not only the School of Hard Knocks, but books, CDs, seminars. And today he specializes in owner financing properties. And that's one of the things we're going to be talking about him today with is the owner financing aspect, the creative ways to get owner financing for those people who are typically left behind by the lending institutions. Now, I love this. He's perfected a method of achieving cash flow without having to be a landlord and without having to rehab the properties yourself. He's mastered the art of raising private money and the classic nothing down deal. Now, he's a passionate speaker who delivers a message of integrity first and profit second. an expert at keeping it simple and explaining in plain English the theories that made him financially independent. Together with his wife, Tommy, and his daughter, Shannon, they have purchased, like we said, over 2,000 properties since 1976. You know, they just, their company, which we are going to talk about today. So Mitch is going to focus on the owner financing. I'm going to focus on finding out behind the scenes what it's like to run a business that has done over 2,000 homes. He also is big into storage facilities, which, you know, is another. It started with 13 boat storages around the lake, and you know, the storage business now for him has grown to over 1,100 storage doors in over 16 locations. And if you go on his website, which is 1000houses.com, you'll see a picture of Mitch with his big Texas you know, cowboy hat on. And as we say, he's got the hat, but he's also got the cattle. So Mitch, welcome to my podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it. So, you know, I figured it out the other day. We were doing the math. I've been full-time since 1996. So we figured it out one day. I bought a house every 4 to 5 days for 24 years.
That is unbelievable. I mean,
and then I owner finance like 80% of them. I sell my houses with 30-year fixed notes, no balloons. They just owe me for 30 years, and I average $535 a house, positive cash flow.
That is amazing.
I'm on pace to do 120 houses this year, up from last year, which, you know, the competition is fierce. There's a house flipper on every corner right now. Exactly. Every TV show on A&E and everything's flip this and flip that, and they're making it look so easy that everyone's a house flipper for at least a year till they get their ass kicked, and then figure out that it's work and that it's a real job, and it's a freaking science and an art. And, you know, you can't be in it halfway. You're either all in or you need to go home, because
exactly. You know, that's the whole thing. I love these guys who are out there selling these get-rich-quick schemes. And, you know, I remember the very first guy that was on, you know, Flip the House, even before Than Merrill and Paul were on there. It was that guy from South Carolina. You know, who was a big Clemson fan. I can't remember his name. He was on for a little while. And that guy, you're right, he made it look easy. He made it look like, oh, I just go and find a house, clean it up, and boom, I made 40 grand. And, you know, nobody sees what goes on behind the scenes.
Well, it wasn't even that. They had houses that they said that they flipped and made 40,000 on that I know went to the foreclosure auction. I was there. They didn't flip that house. They didn't. They were upside down. They didn't move it. They just made it look like they move it, which was really, you know, it was between me. I won't name the other party, but it was between me and another guy in San Antonio, and they picked the other guy because my shit just runs smooth. I was not. We didn't get an argument with anybody. I was like, well, you know, I don't need to.
You know, oh my gosh, Mitch, they wouldn't pick me for the same reason. You know, because I'm not too much of a straight shooter. I'll tell it like it is. Like, oh boy, this thing's going to be a dog.
They took my contractor though. They took my contractor and matched him with another guy.
Okay, so you're saying that this is an actual one of the TV shows came out, and then
A&E followed me around for 2 weeks and the other guy, and they just said, "You're not controversial. You know."
Mitch, are you sure that's the real reason? You sure it had nothing to do with the fact that you're not 6'2" and look like Clark Gable?
That could have been it too. I know there was another thing that happened though. I would drop the F-bomb, you know, but I wouldn't drop it on camera because, you know, I got my mother and I got a daughter and I got, you know, and I wouldn't drop the F-bomb. So we were much more colorful when the camera wasn't rolling. And I said, well, yeah, my mother's not going to hear that. So, you know, my mother will kick my ass if I could.
Oh, man. All right. Hey, listen, let's talk about these owner financing ideas because, you know, and here's how it works on the multifamily side, just so you can add a little color to what you're about to say. You know, if we see a deal where the seller's offering financing, that's a red flag that there's something wrong with the property and it can't get bank financing. So we tread very carefully in the multifamily world. So what happens on the single family side?
Well, look, I think one thing we need to make clear, I'm into the owner financing, but I buy my houses with private money, cash. I'm talking about my sales side. I'm selling my house with seller financing.
Okay.
On 30-year fixed notes. All the people have to do is they have to impress me. They have to show me that they can make the payment because, you know, Dodd-Frank requires that we have a reasonable reason to believe they can make the payment before we take that $15,000, $20,000 down payment. You know, we can't just take down payments and there's no viable way they can pay for it.
Right.
And so we prove that. What's cool about, so I'm buying a house, let's run through a scenario real quick so everyone has it. I'm buying a house for 50. I borrow 52 from my private lender. I have $16 million worth of this kind of money right here. 8%, 5 years, interest only, non-recourse, collateral only, payable monthly, wrappable. So I buy the house for 50 all in. I borrow 52. Why do I always borrow 2 extra? Because it takes me $2,000 to find this guy. And if you leave 2,000, I do 100 houses a year on average, right? A little more or a little less every year for 24 years. If I leave $2,000 in advertising in every house, in 1 year, that's 200,000. In 5 years, that's $1 million. So I have to borrow that out. It's very important because you'll wonder why you're so tight. You'll wonder why the hell you're so tight. Like, I should be further ahead. I don't get it. But yeah, you left $2,000 a house laying around for 100 houses this year.
That makes a ton of sense.
So you're borrowing from private people. So, you know, I can borrow on that house because how I figure out what I can offer, you got to start, you got to back your way into it. I'm using the rents to establish the OFV. Everyone's heard of the Mayo and the ARV. I coined a long time ago the OFV, the owner finance value. So one of these days when you're talking, there's the ARV and there's the OFV. And the owner finance value, it's a completely different value. It's a value unto itself, and it's based on the rent. I'm trying to get a guy who's paying $1,000 rent into ownership for $1,000. So here's the formula. Write this down because this will tell you exactly what the OFV is. What you have to be successful at, or you're going to mess up, is you have to be right when you decide what the rents are in that neighborhood. You get that number wrong, the whole thing's wrong. But let's say the rent's $1,000. I'm going to write the formula first. It's rent minus the monthly taxes, minus the monthly insurance, times 115, plus 12%, minus 50% of the rehab estimation, equals the OFV. Now let's put real numbers in it. The rent's $1,000. You minus $100 for taxes. You minus $50 for insurance. So now you're down to $850, right? Then you multiply $850 times 115. And the reason, that's just a multiplier. What 115 represents is if a man has $850 a month to pay for principal and interest, how much can he borrow at 10% for 30 years and have an $850 payment? I got a smart guy to tell me that, well, you can either have to have a calculator with you all the time, or you can just, a financial calculator, or you can just multiply by 115. You'll be close enough in houses 250 or below, 250,000 or below. So that comes out to $97,750.
That's right.
In my world, that's $98,000. So, and then 98,000 plus 12% gets you right around 110,000 is the OFV. And I don't give a damn what the CMA says. I don't give a damn what the BPO, the broker's profession, I don't care what any of us says, because the guy that I'm going to sell this house to can't get a new loan. I'm just offering to trade that $1,000 a month that you're paying for rent as ownership. And it's like a tote your note car lot. The buyers of those cars doesn't care about the interest rate, doesn't care about what the price of the car is. He just wants to know, can I make the monthly payment? And I already know they can make the monthly payment because if they're living in that neighborhood, they're already paying that much. The separator is, do you have a down payment of 10% or better? I put in 12% as a down payment. So you get 98,000, then you multiply, you add 12%, and you get up to 110, and then you subtract half of the repair bill if the house is like
bad,
under like 100,000. Because people that buy $150,000 houses or $200,000 houses, they don't want to fix nothing. But people that buy 80,000 or 60,000 houses, they're blue collar, they are in those trades and they'll fix it themselves. Now, why did I just say 50%? You might have to take 100% off, but I find that when I go tell everybody, hey, I'm going to sell you this house. It has a hole in the roof the size of this kitchen table, and I'm going to sell you the hole too. I'm going to finance the hole and the house for 30 years. You fix it. This is the greatest plan in the frickin' world. Buy it, don't fix it, sell it for double what you got in it, and watch the guy making payments to you go over budget fixing up your collateral. That's the greatest plan in the world. No rehab, no risk. You took all the risk out of it. And how many people who are listening to me, let's do this like we could actually see you. If you go over budget every time you do a rehab, raise your hand. The rest of you guys are liars.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, so it's so much more fun to watch this other guy who's making payments to me go over budget, fixing up my house, than it is for me to go over budget.
Okay, hold on one second, Mitch. I got to tell you something.
Well, wait,
what you're saying is exactly what goes on in the multifamily world when we are required by the lender to set aside $300 per unit per year as a reserve replacement to fix up their collateral. It's the same thing. You're doing the exact same thing as Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. That's brilliant.
I'm the lender. I get to say what goes and what doesn't go. Here's the deal. If we agree on a down payment, a monthly payment, it's your house. I'm the underwriter. I don't have a net. I'm not federally backed, funded, guaranteed, nothing. I'm on my own. And so I buy this house for $52. My payment's $350. I sell it for $110 with $12,000 down, and they owe me $850 a month. The difference between $850 and $350 is $500. They owe me for 30 years a positive cash flow of $500 because if the air conditioner breaks, it's not my air conditioner. Don't call me. If the toilet overflows, don't call me. It's not my toilet, it's yours. Just send me the check. That's all my responsibility is from now on. And so I picked up $2,000 when I bought to help reimburse my advertising budget. I picked up $12,000 in the down payment, and I got $500 a month coming in, positive cash flow for 30 years. That's $180,000. So look what it does to your financials. Every time I do one of these houses, my net worth goes up $180,000 at least. And so I'm worth millions on paper.
In the form of notes, not even real estate, just notes.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, now hold on. Let's back up because remember, you had to get this. The way you financed this thing was with a hard money loan at what was it, 8%? But it was a 5-year term.
No, it wasn't a hard money loan. It was a soft money loan. It was 8%, 5 years, interest only, non-recourse, not the collateral only. I have a right with my borrowers every day of my life. I'll pay you as agreed, or I'll walk the deed down to you. But I have that right every day of my life. And if you don't want the deed to that house, don't loan me the money. Now, I've never given a deed back to anybody in my life, but that's what non-recourse collateral only means.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
the only reason I have that is my name is so important to me. My reputation is so important to me that the only reason I would fail if something catastrophic happened, like if Kim Jong dumbass dropped a dirty bomb in downtown San Antonio and polluted 20-mile radius with radiation, but I would lose my good name if I signed a personal guarantee. And I don't want to be responsible for everything that could happen in this world that I have no control over. So I always do non-recourse, with my private people, but I never let them in over 65% of the value of the owner finance value. I never, like if it's a $100,000 house, I'll never let them loan me more than $65,000 if I'm going to owner finance that house for $100,000. And I average $55,000. I only borrow what I need, and I leave the rest to get 10% in a CD.
Okay, now, so the thing is, you also mentioned that it's a wrappable. Like they don't necessarily remain in first position.
No. So I borrow the money from my private lender, and they got a first lien on my house. Then I wrap their mortgage with. Here's how you explain it. Then I sell the house with owner financing, 10% for 30 years. I carry the balance. Okay.
Yeah.
And no balloon. Because these people are not sophisticated enough to meet a balloon, and I was constantly in the position of having to take their house or forgive them and let them know that the contract was no good.
Yeah, exactly.
Either one was horrible. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to give them a fixed loan. I'm sophisticated. I'll fix the problem on the other end. So they owe me $850 a month, principal and interest, taxes and insurance. Okay, well, my principal and interest $850 plus taxes and insurance plus servicing fee. So they pay for my note servicing company too. So their mortgage to me wraps around my mortgage to my investor. And it's called a wraparound mortgage because in the mortgage, it explains the risk to my buyer that there is an underlying debt underneath him. And So now you with me so far?
Yeah,
I owe
gotcha.
52,000 at 8% interest only. My payment's about 350. Don't split hairs with me. Just follow the theory.
Yeah.
They owe me 850 principal and interest plus taxes and insurance for 30 years. The difference is 500 bucks. They still owe me 180,000. Okay. Now I do this like 10 or 12 or 30 times in a row. And then I put them all on a spreadsheet. I go down to the bank and say, hey, I want to write this word down. I want to hypothecate my notes, which is a fancy word for saying I want to pledge my notes as collateral because I don't own the house anymore. I can't refinance the house. It ain't my house. I said, I want to pledge this $90,000 note on this $110,000 house. And I want to, and I want my 52,000 back. What kind of terms will you give me? I'm going to pay this 52,000 guy off. And so now the guy that's in the second position that owes me the payment, once I pay off the first with the loan from the community bank, he drops into the first position and now his woes are gone. We're taking care of him.
Yeah.
The bank, I found a community bank that gives me, I pledged 35 about 50 notes, $2.5 million worth. And they financed holding my $2.5 million worth of notes. I'm sorry, they paid off $2.5 million worth of notes with $5 million worth of notes that I put as collateral. They financed the 2.5 that I owed on it for 15 years, 5.99%, fully amortized, fixed, nothing, just 15-year note amortized. And so now I give all the 2.5 million back to my underlying lien holders, my private people, and I freed up my 2 million again to go buy another 2.5 million, another $5 million worth of houses. My goal is to create a note that is twice as much as what I owe. So if I owe 52, I like to have a note for 104. It doesn't always work out, you know, but that's my goal. But more often than not, it works out. And sometimes I get way better than that. You know, every now and then, even a blind dog can find a bone sometime. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Okay. Now hold on a second. Let's cut to the chase here. How can people learn about this, Mitch? How is it in your books? Is it you got a course? Like, because this is fantastic.
Well, look, you go to 1000houses.com. I have an online course called The Art of Owner Financing Pro 2.0. And then if you want some connection, you know, with me, that has no access to me. It's just an online course. It's like 500 bucks. And I tell you everything I know. I mean, this is not one of those things where I tease you and then I try to, I just deliver everything I got. If you think you need some help, call me and we'll get a one-on-one situation. I have a Tuesday night call, $3,500 for the year, every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock. My goal is I'm going to answer every question on that call before we hang up. Calls average about 2 to 2.5 hours. They're all recorded and they're archived. There's over 500 hours of real questions from real people that have real answers to the question.
You know, I do the same thing with my program. I call it Monday Night Live, but mine's only an hour. Mine at 7 to 8, I shut down. And as I tell people, I tell everyone that asks me, I said, I got the greatest job in the world because I only work 1 hour a week. Everything else, I can just do whatever I want. Yep. So
look, this is what happens. I out of 100 houses, I'll probably owner finance like 75 of them. The other ones are really retail because you're going to get into the systems, right? And I got people that work for me. I got 4 acquisition guys. That's all they do every morning is they wake up and they figure out how to buy a house today. That's all they do. And I got them all in different lanes. So no one's competing against each other. If one guy's working this half of the tax delinquent list, then no one else is working.
Okay.
If someone's working because I don't want to compete against myself, you know, you find out, and there's different expertise to know about every path. You know, every channel, there's a different expertise. You got to spend time and make relationships and figure out how to talk to that lady at the courthouse and get what you need out of her, you know, be friends.
Okay, so hold on a second. This is kind of getting into the next part of my question to you, which is you've got to do 1,000 homes. The same thing where I teach people how to own 1,000 apartments. You just don't wake up and start doing 1,000 homes. You need systems. You need a business in place. Now, let me tell you something, Mitch. You've already given away. You know, you just quickly glanced over this particular word, but I heard you say it. And this was. I was wondering how the heck does Mitch and his wife and his daughter handle all of these notes and run it like a bank. And then you mentioned this note servicing company. So, it sounds like you've outsourced that particular component. But how do you run a business like yours? How can somebody go about starting from nothing, from just reading the Robert Allen's book to now having a business that generates millions? How do you do it?
First thing you do is you go out and you get your ass kicked all the way down the street. And then you get back up and you dust yourself off, and then you get your ass kicked all the way back up the street. And then you fall down, you get back up again, and then you get your ass kicked over into the yard and then over into the alley, get thrown in the dumpster, and then you wake up and you go, damn, this sucks.
I'm done getting my ass kicked. Yeah.
So I'll tell you exactly my layout of my business. But
that's great. That is
great. I tried 5 times to automate my business by myself and failed miserably. One of the main reasons I failed was I never gave myself permission to do less than 100 houses. And so I was not clearing the time I needed. I was trying to do 100 houses in a system. When I finally did it, on the year that I did it, I gave myself permission because I was going to quit and walk away from $1 million plus a year net profit. But I was worn out because I'd been wearing every hat. I couldn't do it anymore.
Yes.
Instead of quitting, I said, I'm going to try one more time, but this time I'm going to spend $30,000. I'm going to get with the right people, and I'm going to let them undress me and redress me the way that it needs to be. And I'm going to give myself permission because I'm fixing to walk away with zero income. Shut it down, put it in a box and put it away. Or that was the key. When I had enough and I was going to shut it down, like doing no houses that year didn't matter because now I was going to quit. So I only did 30 houses that year, and I spent the whole year trying to hire the right person for that chair and that chair and that chair and training them. And finally it happened. And I thought I was going to have to give up half of my money, half of half of $1 million. I was going to have 500,000 to pay the people to make it run. And instead of walking away with zero, I just have 500,000. What happened was, they told me this would happen, but I didn't believe them. I made more money than I ever made and still paid those people well. And I made more than I ever made. And I figured out why was right in front of my face. The guy that was sitting in that chair right there wasn't as good as me, but he only had one thing to do. So he was better than me. You know what I mean?
Yep.
He only has one thing to do. And then the guy in this other chair, I could beat him every day of the week in that chair. If we sat down together, I'd outdo him. But I couldn't sit there full time. He was better than me because that chair was only getting 10% of me, because I was trying to do everything. My day was completely reactionary. I'd go and I had this plan, what I'm going to do today, the phone would ring and I wouldn't get anything I wanted to get done. And I have to go put out fire, go put out another fire, phone would ring again. I go put out that fire. So I got four acquisition people, and I don't hire people that want to be in the real estate business. I do not deal with anyone who wants to be me. I go find a good Hoover vacuum cleaner salesman. He's the top in the region. He's making $40,000, $50,000. And I say, hey, how'd you like to make 60? Learn how to sell this. And I teach people just what they need to know to do that job. I don't teach them the whole damn business. I just need someone to do their job. Your job is to call 200 people a day, tell them you want to buy a house, and write 10 contracts a week.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, wait, have you ever read the book, The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber?
Yeah. Gerber?
That's what you're talking about right now.
Yes, but see, we are humans, and we can read everything you want, but until you're ready to absorb it, it just bounces off of you.
And implement it. Yep, exactly.
Like Eddie Speed's been telling me for years and years and years, why don't you just sell a partial, Mitch? Just sell a partial. I said, and then one day I sold a partial. I said, if I'd have been doing this my whole career, I'd be worth another $1 billion. I called Eddie. I said, Eddie, why don't you tell me about partials? He says, I've been telling you for 20 years. You couldn't hear me. What is it? The teacher appears when the student's ready. I hadn't been ready.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
So then I got 2 people that sell my houses. That's all they do. They just sell houses. I went, where's a great place to find house selling guys? Go to a mobile home lot where they coop these guys up 6 days a week on a lot, and they making $50,000 a year, and they got 20 apps going in to get one person who will qualify, and then you say, hey, I want you to come over here. You can make 100,000, and I'm the guy who approves the loans. You might bring me one person, you might bring me 3 people, but you're not bringing. I will not turn down 20. You're not going to get 20 turn downs from me. Just bring me someone who has at least 10% down, though, please. And if they have more than that, then maybe you make a little bit more. So I go to these mobile, and that's all I do. The minute that guy says, hey, I found a house for you. I say, hey, I don't want you finding houses. I want you selling houses. If you don't want to sell houses, let me know. I'll find someone who wants to sell houses. Yeah. And you know what I mean? Because I'm trying to run a business. My biggest mistake was for years and years, I went to the real estate clubs to work with people, and they had the same dream as me. And I didn't want that person. I needed someone who wanted a job. I test people. This is what I test people for. They have to be responsible. They have to be honest, first and foremost. They have to be self-motivated. They have to be money motivated. They have to be organized. They have to be clean. They have to have all that good stuff. And then I test for these 3 things. They can't have an entrepreneurial bone in their body. And they gotta be very poor personal money managers, meaning the more money they make, the more money they're gonna spend.
Oh, man.
They'll always be too broke to go in business against me.
Oh my gosh. That's like, I remember back when I started the insurance business, the managers would say that they loved it when they heard one of the agents got a mortgage, because they knew that the guy was hooked into them. I heard that mortgage is translated from French as the death grip. And that's exactly what it is. It's a death grip. We got you by the short hairs. So
too big a mortgage. If you get one that's too big for you, yeah.
Yep.
And the car payments too. A car payment these days is an easy $600, $700, $800.
No kidding.
Well, no one buys a $250 a month car. They have them.
Yep. And you see them advertised, but you walk into the showroom, you can't find those cars.
It's really funny because I'll owner finance a house for $50,000 to somebody, and I'll see a $70,000 truck parked in the driveway.
Oh, I know. Oh, absolutely. It's unbelievable. I mean, especially in your neck of the woods. In my neck of the woods, up here in Boston, your numbers don't match.
Yeah, they're not the same
here. But I mean, that's why so many people around here like going south and looking for something else, because the numbers just make so much.
So I teach a lot of people, how to set up shop from afar. Like there's a lot of people in Los Angeles. I mean, you can't own or finance houses in Los Angeles. I mean, you can, but it's a different game, and you have to have institutional money out the wazoo if you're going to do that, because the numbers are too big, and you got to have lower rates to make a little. See, what happens is I borrow money at 8%, and I loan it out or finance at 10%. So if I have $16 million out, I'm making 2% spread between 10% 8% on my borrowed money, and then I'm making the whole 10% on the equity, or the piece that doesn't have debt on it.
Right.
And I get paid. Last month I collected $120,000 in down payments. I mean, you should never have to sell a note. You should be able to live off the down payments. In that one scenario, 8,000. Say you only get 8,000 down. If you do that in 2 houses a month, it's 16,000. I mean, how much do you need to live?
Exactly.
And then you just never touch your notes. So you look up one day and there's 500 notes over there bringing in $500 a month.
Yeah.
And you're not a landlord. Now there's a downside, right? Because
Oh, okay. Wait a minute. Nobody teaches about this side, Mitch. Tell us, what's the downside to your business?
Well, there's a definite downside. There's 2 sides of a coin. There's the buy and hold guy, the landlord, who gets appreciation and depreciation. Then there's the owner finance, but he has every liability from the back fence to the front mailbox and everything in between. If it breaks, it's his ass. He got to write a check. The problem with being a landlord, which was my problem, and I'm not talking it down because there's been millions, but there's 2 sides of the coin. You need to decide who you are. I was a horrible landlord and I didn't like it. So I found this other way. When I was a landlord, I'd collect the rent, but even when the check got cashed, I didn't know if I could spend it or not, because if the air conditioner broke, apparently it was the air conditioner man's money, and I was doing a hell of a job collecting money for the air conditioner man and the plumber. I was collecting the crap out of that money for those guys, and I just gave it all to them, and there was nothing left for me at the end of the month. Now I understand if your houses are paid for free and clear, how it could work, but if you're trying to do a rental where you're making $300 between what you collect and what you owe, one air conditioner wipes out your year for the house.
No, but Mitch, even if you own the house free and clear, you still have to deal with the tax man. And he's still taking more money out of your pocket every month. If you own the notes, you don't have to deal with that issue.
No, it's their taxes go up, not mine. So what I'm doing is I'm collecting payments, but it's temporary. I got 12. This is another difference between landlording and owner financing. When was the last time someone gave you a $20,000 non-refundable deposit for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,200 square foot home? Never. I get lucky many times a year. People don't just give me 10%; they give me 25, 30% down. It's money from heaven. You never have a chance as a landlord to get a $30,000 bump this month from a guy moving in. I got that chance every day, and I have little sentences that can, like I tell people, I'm $15,000 for 6 months one-on-one. If you want to have my phone number and call me whenever you want, and I'll be your consultant on anything you want to talk about. And I know sentences will make you $15,000. Like people give me a down payment. It's $8,000. That's exactly what I was asking for, $8,000. Well, I'm owner financing my house. I've already padded the house $3,000 or $4,000 more. I'm the underwriter. I'm the appraiser. I don't need anything, so I can put whatever price I want on a house. So I always put it $3,000 or $4,000 high, so I can say things like this: "Sir, you're approved. The $8,000 is great. That's exactly what I asked for, and I'm not have any problem with the $8,000 down. But let me plant a seed with you, and I want you to go home tonight, and I want you to pray to your wife and talk to your God, and for every $1,000 you give me over $8,000, I'm going to take $1,000 off the price. So I'm going to double your money." And every single time they come back with an extra $3,000 or $4,000. And it's like Walmart, mark it up to mark it down. I'm not giving away anything.
Yeah, it's funny money to you anyway.
Yeah. So what I don't have is I don't have appreciation and I don't get depreciation. But listen to me, I'm going to tear the appreciation model right to hell right off the bat. I bought this house for $50. I sold it for $100 in 30 days. Like, how much appreciation do you landlords want?
Yeah, exactly.
You want to annualize that?
Yeah. No.
Okay. Now, depreciation, nothing to do about it except for you got a business, find other write-offs. I write off my whole life. I don't own a phone. I don't own a car. I don't own a truck. I don't own anything. But I drive them and I use them.
Yep. You control them. Yeah,
I control them. I don't want to own them. I just want to pick it up and talk on it.
That's right. That's what it was. It Carnegie that said, "Don't own anything but control everything."
Yeah.
That's how he does it.
So to quote Jack Bosch, you got one-time cash. That's the flips of the contract assignments. There's got temporary cash. That's what I do. I get a down payment today, and they owe me an extra $500 positive cash flow for years and years and years. However, the payments in America on a mortgage only last about 7 to 8 years. Maybe the people I sell to, maybe they last 10 years, but they're not going to make it 30 years. Very rarely will a notes make it 30, because they're going to sell, or the house will burn down and they get insurance, or they got an inheritance and they're going to pay it off, or something's going to happen, they're going to pay you off early. And so my cash flow is temporary. So you have to take your money and your success from the one-time cash strategies and the temporary cash strategies, and you got to take that money and you got to buy into a forever cash strategy. And that's how I got into storages. Where do I put this money where it'll never go away and I can keep stacking it up? It's stacking more doors and more doors. It's either apartments or I chose mini storages because there's a lot less liabilities. I don't have any carpet. I don't have any sheetrock. I don't have any insulation to speak of. I got one switch, one light. I don't even have a plug. I got one door. I got no grass. I got an electronic gate that all 1,100 people have to subsidize. It's not hard. Or, so my point is I picked something that is a rental. And while houses are great as rentals, they come with a different kind of responsibility. When you move someone out of a house, you're taking a kid out of a school district. You're taking an old lady and displacing her, or you're taking a family and upsetting this cart really bad. When you take someone's storage, they just don't give a crap because it's all shit anyways.
Yeah.
They could have bought it new like 700 times already.
Exactly, based upon what they're renting it for.
Some of my favorite words in the world are, "I'm only going to be in this storage for 3 months." I love that.
Yeah.
17 years later, the tires have rotted off the car that they put in there.
Let me give you a personal example. My wife, I mentioned my wife. I said I'm planning on speaking out in Detroit. She's from Detroit I'm planning on speaking out in Detroit, probably coming up the next quarter. And she says, oh, good. Because I'll come out there with you because I have a storage facility out there that my dad put stuff in there for me. And, we can go through it and see what we want to keep. I'm like, we got a storage facility out there? I didn't even know we had one. What do you mean we got stuff out there? I had no idea. And this thing just keeps sitting out there. I mean, the guy died. Her father passed away like 4 years ago, and we still have a storage facility. You're kidding me. So
I felt bad sometimes when I got some people's stories. I work with people a lot. I try to, just give me some money, get it out of here.
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with it. That's another movie that's a scam. Storage Wars, all staged. Not one real person in the whole thing. It's all actor. They stage every unit, every argument, everything it's a movie. Only in the United States of America can reality TV be fake. I mean, it just blows my mind. So I felt bad for these one people, so I got all their family pictures in an urn. It was an urn with someone's ashes in it. I don't know who it was.
We call up here in Massachusetts, we call it a urine because that's what Ted Kennedy used to call it. My mother's urine.
Mother's urine. Yeah. So I think I'm being this nice guy, and I take all this box full of childhood photos, black and whites, and this urn, and I knock on the door and say, hey, my name's Mitch Stephen. We foreclosed on your unit, but I thought you'd like this stuff. You'd have thought I was running at them with a knife. They came out and about kicked my ass. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. They really abused me. I thought that's gotta be a fluke. I tried it again, and the same thing happened with a different couple. Same thing happened. Wow. And you know what? I can't tell you how many people's ashes I've thrown in a dumpster after that. I mean, I got the hell with it. You know what I mean? Everybody goes in a dumpster. Uncle Ernie, Uncle Fred, they all go in the dumpster. And the pictures, you don't care about them, I don't care about them. They're all going in there.
Oh my gosh! You know what, Mitch? We're coming down to the end of the show where we play the game. Oh yeah, well, what about this? And let me tell you something. If those are not your top stories, and you got something better than the thrown Uncle,
I got one better than that. Hey, what about this?
Okay, hold on a second. Let's listen. We're talking to Mitch Stevens. He's the 1000homes.com, 1000houses.com. And when we come back from break, we're going to play our game. The way we wrap it up every week on the Multifamily Investing Podcast is, oh yeah, well, what about this? And something tells me that I think Mitch is going to beat me, hands down. But we'll see. We'll see.
What about this?
Okay, we'll be right back. Okay, Mitch, are you ready to play our game? All right, so the way the game is played is it's called, oh yeah, well, what about this? Where you start off with a story, and then my job is try to one-up you on your story with a story of my own. And let me tell you something. Talk about unscripted. We have no idea what we're going to get into on this right now, but I tell you, it's always a lot of fun. So, Mitch, lead off.
Oh, yeah? Well, what about this? I foreclosed on a unit one time that had a boat, and I went and got that boat all fixed up, and I put it in the water, and it was one of those cable-driven things, with the steering wheel with the cables that turn the motor. And I called her Lulabelle because she was uglier than hell. But it was a free boat set for the $250. I had to reap it, and so I'm in a deal, and I'm going through the no wake zone, right? So I'm going slow, and I finally get out to the open water where and I floor it, and the transom was rotten, and the torque from the motor just ripped off the transom, and the motor just started to sink to the bottom. Except the motor was attached to my boat with cables. So the motor started going underwater under my boat, and it pulled the nose up, and then it just abruptly sank because there was no back end. The transom is the back of the boat. Yeah. And it ripped it all out. It was attached to the motor, and the motor was still running full speed, just going wherever it was going underwater. And I sank the boat, and I had to swim back in, and everyone was on the shore. Are you okay? And I was swimming. The life jackets and everything went down because they went up in the hole. And when it sunk, the nose went down. And I got up there to the shore, and everyone said, "You okay?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Who wants a boat trailer?" And everyone said, "I do." I said, "Okay, well, the first person who can get it off my truck wins."
You didn't even charge them for it. Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. So let me try one of mine. That comes to mind when you mentioned that. I had this one guy where, I bought a property. My father-in-law was involved in the deal as well. And so he's out there with one of his partners, showing them, pride of ownership on this multifamily property that we own. And somebody walks up to him and says, "Hey, you the owner?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm the owner." Oh, well, he says, "Yeah, oh yes, I'm the owner of this property." He's like, you owe me a box of tools. I put tools in the storage bin and they got stolen and that's your fault and you owe me that money. And my father-in-law doesn't know how to handle it. The first thing is you never tell anybody that you own the property. Like for me, I have never owned a property. I am the lawyer that represents the owners. And so the guy starts ripping, and my father-in-law is like, oh, we've got to buy this guy all new tools. And I said, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, hold on a second here. It's not our responsibility. Come to find out, the guy was behind on his child support, and his ex-wife came and commandeered the tools until he paid up. And then it was going to be our responsibility. So, oh yeah, well, what about that, Mitch?
Okay, so one day I'm driving down the road past one of my storage facilities, going to this little local watering hole, and I always look at them. It's fine. I come out of the local watering hole. Maybe it was
Mitch, something tells me the local watering holes for you are not where you go to get baptized. I think they're the kind of more like local pubs around here. Am I right, Mitch? Am I right?
You'd be correct, sir. You'd be correct.
Thank you very much.
Well, I'm over there getting baptized, and on the way out, it's kind of late, probably really late, and I'm driving by, and I see one of the doors about 6 inches off the ground, and the lights on. And so I stop and I go to my storage facility.
Oh, I'm going to lose.
A lady from the watering hole had set up shop and rented one of my units, but she had it set up like a bedroom, and she was servicing a man there. So I threw open the door, and there they were in all their glory, like right in the middle of this act. And I said, you can't do this here. You have to get out. And I made them leave, and I took all the stuff, and I took the keys, and I put my own lock on everything. And as I was driving away, I thought, this could have been the best little warehouse in Texas. Why the heck did I get out? There was a profit center there. I just needed to take half.
Exactly.
I could have made more money than that unit ever made in my life.
Okay, listen. Okay, you just won the game, but I also want people who are listening here how they can monetize my podcast. What you can do is go out and trademark that name, the best little warehouse in ... Mitch, that's a brilliant name. That's what you should call all your self-storage facilities.
Well, there was that musical, The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas.
Exactly.
But they already have, in Texas, someone already has that name. The best warehouse in Texas. Best little warehouse in Texas.
Well, we don't have it up here, but best little warehouse in Massachusetts is what we should call it. New Hampshire. So, his name is Mitch Stevens. Mitch, this has been fantastic. I love the stuff that you taught here today, and it's so good to chat with you. I remember talking to you years ago. I think your hair was darker back then, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, and back then I had a 4-head. Now I have like a 9-head.
Exactly, a 9-head.
Yeah, it was a 4-head, but now it's like a 7-head at least.
All right, his name is Mitch Stevens. Look him up, guys. I'm telling you, 1000houses.com. Take advantage of his free training. Take advantage of all of his knowledge. It sounds like a fantastic way to make money in this business. I love it. I'm going to start looking into it as well.
Get a free book. Go to 1000houses.com/free book. And if you just pay the shipping, because it costs money to ship it, but I'll give you a book, okay?
Yeah, excellent. Awesome. And Mitch, you and I are going to talk later on. We got a lot more to talk about.
We do. All right. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Mitch. Good to have you. Talk to you soon.
Bye.